They said slavery ended, but did it really? Or did they just get better at hiding it? Because see, shackles on your wrists, whips on your back, chains on your ankles. That's cruel. That's sloppy. That could be seen. And what can be seen can be felt. And what can be felt can ignite rage. And rage, real rage, that builds revolutions. So, they got smarter. They stopped putting chains on a body and started putting chains on a mind. And the moment they did that, they won. Because you cannot revolt against what you cannot see. You cannot break what you don't believe exists in the first place. You cannot escape a prison when you've been convinced that the walls are just a way of life. They took the plantation and they put it inside of your head. They took the overseer and made him your own inner voice. They swapped the woods for distraction. They traded the slave quarters for just enough comfort to keep you quiet. Just enough television, just enough debt, just enough fear to make sure that you never look up long enough to ask why. Because a man who knows he's oppressed, he's a dangerous one. And a man who believes that he's free while he's still in chains, he'll oppress himself for them. You want to know the most wicked thing that they've ever did to you? It wasn't the violence. It wasn't a rape. It wasn't a brutality. As unspeakable as those things are, the most wicked things that they ever did to you was convince you that your mind belongs to them. That your dreams should only go as far as they allow. That your vision of the world should only reach as high as the top of the whale that they dropped you in. You look up, you see a small circle of light, and you call it the sky. You call it freedom. You call it as good as it gets. That's not the sky. It's a ceiling dressed up as a horizon. And they are counting, baking on you never knowing the difference. So I'm asking you today, what are you going to do? Are you going to climb out of that whale? When are you going to realize that the chains are no longer on your wrists? They are wrapped around every lie that you believed, every limit that you accepted, every dream that you buried because somebody told you it was too big. Free your mind. Not because it's easy, but because everything that you built depends on it. Now I know I'm not the only one that sees this. We all see it. Every single one of us see it. We see the system, we see the design, we see the way the game was built and who it was built against. There's not a single person in this room, not a soul watching, who can honestly say that they don't feel the weight of what I've been describing. We see it, we feel it. But seeing and feeling and doing something about it are totally different. And that's what breaks my heart. Because only a few of us, only a handful, are willing to stand up in it. Only a few are willing to be so uncomfortable enough just to act. But the rest, they have learned to live with it. So let me ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Not with me, but with yourself when I ask you this question. Do you actually like this life? This life where, before you open your mouth, before you display an ounce of your talent, your intelligence, your character, someone has already decided who you are, already written your story, already placed you in a box so small it was never designed to hold everything that God put inside of you. You could be the most brilliant person in the room, and still, your voice gets dismissed. You could carry the wisdom. It could change the entire conversation. And still, you get looked past. Not because of what you've done, not because of what you said, but because the skin color that you showed up in. Does that not enrage you? Does that not make something inside of you refuse? But here's what I need to say next. And this is the part that cuts the deepest. The system didn't just divide us from them, it divided us from each other. That's the part that they never put on the news. That's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. It wasn't enough for them to conquer our minds individually. They needed us fractured. They needed us pointing fingers at each other so that we'll never point fingers in the right direction. And it worked. Look at how we talk to each other. Listen how we talk about each other. The hate, the venom, the way black men and women tear each other apart, publicly, loudly, for the whole world to see, and have the nerve to call it entertainment. And I have not spoken one lie through any of this. Not one. So hear me when I say this. Every time that you laugh at our degradation of our own people, every time that you co-sign the narrative that tears us down, every time that you keep your distance from your own, you're handing them the weapon that they use against you each and every time. Because here's what they see when you do that. They see validation. They see confirmation of every lie that they ever told about us. They sit back and say, we don't have to do it anymore. They do it to themselves. And if you don't love your own people, and if you don't see your own worth in your own kind, then you have just answered their question for them. Why should they? This is bigger than pride. This is bigger than an ego. This is about understanding that a people divided cannot rise. A house that tears itself apart from the inside no longer needs an enemy on the outside. They knew that. That's why they did it. So the question isn't just whether you see the oppression. The question is whether you love your own people enough to fight together. Because the few of us who are willing cannot do it alone. I wonder, when did you stop fighting? No, really. When did you stop? Was it when they gave you low-paying wages, made you feel welcome, and when they said that you are savages and that we need to come into your community and help you? Because I remember the very thought of what they did to you, what they continue to do to you, made something inside of you burn, made something inside of you refuse. There was a version of you that couldn't even sit still in this, that couldn't make peace with this, that looked at the condition of your life and said, this isn't right. This is not enough. I was made for more than this. What happened to that person? Because somewhere between the struggle and survival, you stopped being angry at the system and started being angry at yourself. Somewhere the fire went from I refuse to accept this to maybe this is just who I am. And that right there is the moment that they won. Not when they built the broken schools. Not when they flooded the neighborhood with poisoned food and poverty. Not when they put an image on every screen telling you that you are nothing but a criminal. Nothing but a statistic. Nothing but a warning to the rest of the world. They won. The moment that you started believing in that, I need you to feel what I'm saying right now. Your grandmother, she knew she was in chains. Your grandfather, he felt the very link. They didn't have the luxury of forgetting what was being done to them. The oppression was loud, it was visible. It was raw. And as unbearable as that was, at least they knew who their enemy was. But you was handed something more dangerous than a chain. You was handed just enough freedom to stop you from revolting, just enough comfort to stop you from questioning, just enough distraction, just enough noise, just enough screen time, just enough surface level living, just to make sure that you never sit still long enough to ask, why does my child's school look like this? Why does my neighborhood look like this? Why does the food that they sell us do this to our bodies? Why, after everything, are we still living like this? Because this didn't happen by accident. This was architected. The same way they built the plantation, they built the system you're living in right now. Different walls, different language, different century, but same intentions. The most heartbreaking part is that your ancestors would have recognized it and immediately. They've walked through your neighborhoods and say, we know this feeling. We know. They'll look at your schools and say, we know what this produces. They'll watch what plays on your television. The way your image is dragged through the mud every single night. And they would reap. Not because things didn't change, but because you stopped noticing that it didn't. You made peace with Massa. You looked at everything that he built to keep you small. And somewhere deep in your exhaustion of trying to survive, you whispered to yourself, he might not be too bad after all. And I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm saying it because I know what it costs to survive at a system designed for you to fall. I know how heavy it gets. I know that sometimes the mind just lowers the alarm because it cannot sustain that level of pain indefinitely. Because there's a difference between resting and the fight and forgetting that there is one. Your ancestors didn't just suffer, they had faith. Faith in the dark, faith in the field, faith in conditions so brutal that faith itself should have died. And still, they held on to the belief that one day, someone who came from them would stand in a moment that they never got to see. That someone is you. You are the answer to their prayers that they prayed while being chained. They did not pray that hard, bleed that much, endure that long for you to make peace with the man who built that cage. So I'm asking you not to be angry, but to wake up. Wake up to what's been done. Wake up to what's still being done. Wake up to who you actually are beneath everything that they tried to bury you under. Because the change that they put on your mind only holds as long as you don't know that they're there. And now you know. So what are you going to do with what you know now? For faith, it's different than hope. It carries weight, conviction, and rootedness. Your ancestors didn't just wish for better. They believed it into existence. And that's the energy that you must carry out. They made you passive, not broken. Passive. There's a difference between broken. There's a difference. Brokens mean you tried and failed. Passive means that you stopped trying altogether. Passive means that you've learned somewhere along the way that standing up costs us too much, that the consequences aren't worth it, that it's safer to be still. And so you became still. But let me ask you something. What exactly are you afraid of? Is it death? Because I need you to sit still with this question. I want you to really sit still with it. Is the life you're living right now better than death? A life where your mind is not your own, where your image has been handpicked for you by people who never loved you, where you wake up every morning and carry mental pain so normalized. You don't even call it pain anymore. Just call it a Tuesday morning. Where somewhere else holds the remote control to your existence. And you have convinced yourself that's just the way it is. Is that living? Or is that just a slower kind of dying? Because at least in death, I control the narrative. At least in death, no one else is pulling the string. But here, right now, in this life that they designed for you, someone else owns you. They just changed the treatment of the ownership. And the most diabolical part is they don't even have to enforce it anymore. They trained you so well that you enforce it yourself. You police yourself, you shrink yourself, you looked at the box that they built and you climbed in willingly. And then you have the audacity to hand the blueprint to your children. You saw the image that they created of you on that screen. The hoodlum, the criminal, the reckless. You saw it. And instead of being offended, you became it. You didn't just accept the lie, you performed it. And now, you are rehearsing that same performance for the next generation, teaching them to be an even worse version of a character that was never real in the first place. A character written by the oppressor, directed by your oppressor, distributed by your oppressor. And they are watching, laughing. Because why would they take you seriously? You don't stick together. You don't stand for nothing. You let them walk into your culture, your music, your language, your style, your sweat, your soul, and take it, claim it, profit from it, build entire empire off it. And you supported them while they did it. And when they were done, when they extracted everything of value, they acted like you was never there. Like it came from nowhere. Like you came from nowhere. And you let them. But here's what burns the most. You let them trick you into integration without ownership. You were so focused on being accepted at their table that you never built your own. You integrated your dollars into their business. You integrated your talent into their platforms. You integrated your culture into their brands. And now, if you wanted to revolt, where would you go? What do you own? What have you built? What institutions? What infrastructures? What foundation exists that is yours? That they cannot take, they cannot co-opt, they cannot shut down the moment that you become inconvenient. They made sure the answer to that question was nothing. Because the people with nothing have no leverage. The people with nowhere to go have no choice. And that was designed to make you feel like dealing with them is your only option. To make their presence in your life feel not like an imposition, but like a necessity. That is not freedom. That is the plantation with a different address. And until you understand that, until you get angry enough, wake up enough, unify enough to start building something that belongs to you, they will never take you seriously. And why would they? You haven't given them a reason to. So stop waiting for their respect. Stop waiting for their validation. Stop waiting for them to acknowledge what they took. Build your own. Build. Own something. Stand for something. Stick together for something. Because the moment that you have somewhere else to go, the moment you have something of your own, is the moment the dynamic changes forever. And they know it. That's why they work so hard to make sure that you had nothing. The question is, are you finally angry enough to change it? They didn't just enslave your body, they enslaved your mind. They handed you a screen and called it freedom. They fed you celebrity drama and called it culture. They flooded your feed with noise, endless, carefully curated noise, and called it connection. And while you're watching, while you're scrolling, and while you're arguing about something that never truly mattered, they were fattening you up. Not with food, with comfort, with distractions, with just enough entertainment to keep you satisfied, just enough illusion to make you feel like you're living, when really you're only consuming. Brothers and sisters, I need you to open your eyes. The system was never broken, it was built brick by brick, algorithm by algorithm, to keep you docile, to keep you entertained enough that you never get hungry. Hungry for truth, hungry for change, hungry enough to fight. They don't fear your anger, they fear you awakening. Because a distracted people would never revolt. A comfort slave would never reach for the key. The cage has no bars. That's what makes all of this genius. You can't fight what you can't see. And they made sure that you will never look up long enough to see it. So look up, look up. The question was never whether you were free. The question is, now that you know, what are you going to do about this? For the revolution will be televised. But how? If you're too busy being distracted. So remember, you are for numb. If anybody tell you otherwise,